At 78, Sally Field finally talks about James Garner. Sally Field was born Sally Margaret Field on November 6, 1946 in Pasadena, California. She grew up in a family that was already in show business because her mum, Margaret Field, was an actress, and her stepdad, Jock Mahoney, was a famous actor and stuntman. From when she was little, Field got to see how the entertainment world worked. But getting famous wasn't easy for her at all. She was a shy and quiet kid who figured out early that acting helped her speak up and feel like she belonged somewhere. This love for acting would push her to build a career that would make her one of the most loved actresses ever. Field first became famous in the 1960s when she got cast in a fun TV comedy called Gidget from 1965 to 1966, playing a teenage surfer who was super happy and sweet. Even though the show only lasted one season, it gave Field her first taste of being famous and got her lots of fans. Right after that, she starred in another TV show called The Flying Nun from 1967 to 1970, where she played Sister Bertrill, a young nun who was so small and light that her outfit let her actually fly. Even though the show was really popular and made Field more famous, she often felt stuck in a role that was more about silly tricks than showing off her real acting skills. She later said she was scared people would only see her as a lightweight actress who could only do cute or funny parts. But those early jobs, even though they held her back, gave her good experience and taught her to keep going when other people might have just given up. Sally Field really wanted people to take her seriously, so she signed up for acting classes at the famous Actors Studio where she learned from the legendary Lee. This training totally changed everything for her. It gave her the skills and confidence to remake herself, going from TV comedy to more serious dramatic roles. Her big break came with a TV movie called Sybil in 1976, where she played a young woman who had multiple personalities. Her performance was amazing and shocked both critics and audiences. Field's scary but touching acting made all the people who thought she was just a sitcom star shut up. She won an Emmy Award for the role and finally got the respect from Hollywood that she deserved. The late 1970s and 1980s were when Field became a real movie superstar. She moved into movies perfectly, getting both great reviews and making lots of money with films like Norma Ray in 1979, where she played a Southern factory worker who starts a union. This role got her an Academy Award for Best Actress and proved she was a powerhouse who could play strong, complicated women. She kept winning with another Oscar performance in Places in the Heart in 1984, playing a widow in Depression-era Texas who fights to keep her farm and family together. These movies showed off how good she was at different types of roles, how deep her emotions were, and how real she always seemed, things that became what she was known for. Besides her Oscars, Sally Field's career is full of movies people remember. Smokey and the Bandit in 1977, where her charm and funny timing worked perfectly with Burt Reynolds. Steel Magnolias in 1989, where her heartbreaking performance as a mom losing her daughter is still one of the most memorable scenes in modern movies. Mrs. Doubtfire in 1993, where she was the warm and funny loving mother opposite Robin Williams, and Forrest Gump in 1994, where she played Gump's wise, caring mother in a role that became famous. Each movie showed she could easily switch between comedy and drama, between light and heavy stuff. In 1996, she directed her first TV movie called The Christmas Tree. In the years after, she directed an episode of the TV show From the Earth to the Moon, and her first movie, Beautiful. Field also did great on TV throughout her whole career. Years after Sybil, she won another Emmy for her work on ER and again for playing the mom Nora Walker on the hit show Brothers and Sisters from 2006 to 2011. These projects proved that she was still relevant and talented, even as Hollywood kept changing around her. Her most recent movie roles include playing Aunt May in the superhero movie The Amazing Spider-Man and playing Mary Todd Lincoln in the historical drama Lincoln. She came back as Aunt May in the Spider-Man sequel that came out in 2014. When she's not acting, Sally Field has also been admired for speaking up about important causes. She has always fought for women's rights, workers' rights, and LGBTQ+ rights, often using her fame to bring attention to issues that matter to her. In 2012, she got the Human Rights Campaign's Ally for Equality Award for supporting her gay son and for speaking up for LGBTQ+ equality in general. Her activism has made her not just a Hollywood legend, but also someone people look up to for being real and caring. Her book, called In Pieces from 2018, showed another side of Field's life, sharing honest and sometimes painful thoughts about her childhood, career, relationships, and personal struggles. The book got praise for being so honest and brave, giving fans a personal look at the real woman behind the movies. During her amazing career, Sally Field has won not just 2 Oscars, but also 3 Emmys, 2 Golden Globes, and the Kennedy Center honor in 2019, which is one of the biggest awards you can get in the arts. These awards show how much impact she's had on American culture. But beyond all the awards, what really makes her special is the emotional truth she brings to every character. People trust Sally Field because she never seems fake. Whether she's playing a peppy teenager, a sad mother, or a determined activist, she always feels real. In 2023, Field was in the comedy movie 80 for Brady, which starred NFL quarterback Tom Brady along with other famous actresses Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin, and Rita Moreno. Also in 2023, Field became the 58th person to get the Screen Actors Guild Life Achievement Award, which she received at the 29th Screen Actors Guild Awards. Sally Field's personal life has been just as interesting and complicated as her amazing acting career. She first married Stephen Craig, an actor and producer. In 1968, their marriage had problems early on, and even though they split up in 1973, they didn't officially get divorced until 1975. While they were together, Field and Craig had 2 sons who would both end up working in the arts. Their first son, Peter Craig, was born in 1969 and became a novelist and screenwriter, making his own name in books and Hollywood writing. Their second son, Eli Craig, was born in 1972 and went a slightly different way in entertainment, becoming both an actor and director, continuing his mother's creative work in his own unique way. The marriage to Craig, even though it didn't last, was an important time for Field, mixing the early years of being a mum with her growing acting career, which was getting bigger at the time. After her marriage ended, Field started dating one of Hollywood's most charming stars, Burt Reynolds. Their romance from 1976 to 1980 became something the public was fascinated by, especially because they also acted together in 4 famous movies: Smokey and the Bandit, Smokey and the Bandit 2, The End, and Hooper. The chemistry they showed on screen was just like their real-life connection, making them one of the most talked-about couples in Hollywood back then. Even though their relationship officially ended in 1980, Field and Reynolds kept seeing each other on and off. Dealing with the complicated mix of personal and work lives, they kept dating on and off until 1982, which ended a very public and closely watched part of Field's love life. Even after they broke up, the years with Reynolds were a time when Field grew and learned more about herself, as she balanced being famous with wanting real love. In 1984, Sally Field took another big step in her personal life by marrying Alan Greisman, a businessman who she would spend a big part of her adult life with. Together they had 1 son, Sam, who was born in 1987, giving Field a 3rd child and making her role as a mother even bigger. This marriage, even though it had shared experiences and the happiness of raising a child, ended in divorce in 1994, but each of Field's relationships and family experiences helped her understand love, partnership, and being a parent better, changing her both personally and professionally. Her journey through marriage, motherhood, and famous relationships shows us a woman dealing with the complicated parts of life in the public eye, while staying deeply committed to her children and her work. At 78, Sally Field, famous and award-winning actress whose career has lasted over 6 decades, has finally decided to speak honestly and openly about working with the legendary actor James Garner. Garner, known for his charm, humor, and undeniable screen presence, wasn't just a work colleague to Field, but also someone who made a lasting impact on her life, both personally and professionally. Over the years, Field has been known for her ability to show deep emotion on screen, her perfect comedic timing, and her constant search for realness in every role she took on. But when it comes to talking about Garner, she admits she held back for a long time, partly out of respect for his privacy and partly because of the complicated feelings about their shared history. "I've always looked up to him from far away," Field starts, her voice filled with both nostalgia and deep respect. "James was someone who had this natural magnetism, and yet he was so humble that you had to respect him right away. I think I spent a long time thinking about the right words, and maybe I waited until I felt I could say everything honestly without making the man he was seem less important. Field thinks back to their first meeting, painting a clear picture of a young actress walking onto a movie studio lot, nervous but excited. The first time I met James, I remember feeling this mix of wonder and disbelief. She remembers, here was this man who had been in so many famous roles, who everyone talked about in quiet, admiring voices. And suddenly, I was doing a scene with him. I was scared, and I think he could tell. He had this way of making people feel comfortable without even trying, just by being completely himself. It's a rare gift, and I think that's why everyone who met him was so strongly drawn to him. She also talks honestly about what it was like working with someone as good as Garner. On set, James had this rhythm, this natural understanding of timing and emotion that made it feel like every scene was alive. He was generous as an actor, never trying to steal the spotlight from anyone, always making the scene the best it could be. That kind of generosity is rare in Hollywood, and it's something that stayed with me all these years. Watching him work, I learned not just about acting, but about being human, patience, and staying calm under pressure. Field doesn't avoid talking about the personal parts of their relationship, hinting at the complicated things behind their friendship. We weren't just co-workers, we shared moments that were deeply human, moments that you don't necessarily see on camera. We laughed together, struggled together, and sometimes disagreed, like any two strong-willed people do. But what stood out to me was his never-changing decency. James had this way of making you feel seen, valued, and respected, which is a rare quality in this business. I've thought about it often, and I realized that part of why I waited to speak openly was because his presence in my life was so meaningful that I didn't want to risk making it too simple with words too soon. Admiration for Garner goes beyond just his professional greatness. James was not only a brilliant actor, but an amazing human being. Field emphasizes, he had this quiet strength, this moral compass that guided him in ways that were inspiring. In a world that often rewards flash over substance, he stayed grounded, kind, and principled. Those qualities made him a joy to work with, but more importantly, they made him someone you could trust and learn from. Finally, Field thinks about the legacy Garner left behind, both in Hollywood and in the lives of people who knew him personally. He touched so many lives in ways that go far beyond movies and television, she says softly. I think it's easy to remember him for the characters he played, but it's the way he treated people, the respect, the humor, the generosity that really defines him. Speaking about him now at this stage in my life, I feel grateful to have known him, to have shared even a small part of the journey with him. James Garner was a once-in-a-generation talent, yes, but more than that, he was an amazing man who left a mark on everyone lucky enough to cross his path. And I hope that through my words, people can understand just a little bit more of the extraordinary person he truly was. In these thoughts, Sally Field not only honors James Garner's lasting legacy, but also gives us a deeply personal look into the huge influence he had on her life. At 78, her words carry the weight of decades of memory, emotion, and experience, giving fans and other actors a rare and heartfelt picture of a man whose brilliance went far beyond the screen.